Okay, hi guys. I'm here with the Southend-on-Sea band in earnest. Hi to you both. Could you just introduce yourselves to those who don't know who you are?
Sure. So I'm Sarah. I write songs and play keys and sing in earnest.
And I'm Tom. I also write some of the other songs that I sing. I've got two front people, and I also play guitar, and that's everything. I was trying to match you and have three. I haven't got three, but two.
We also have our third member, Toby, who plays everything else that we don't play.
So he plays acoustic guitar, violin, a little stompy thing live. Yeah, just bits and pieces. He plays everything.
Is that one of those little foot stomper, meant to be like a kick drum things?
Yeah, it sounds it's really subby, so it sounds kind of like a heartbeat kind of thing. Yeah,
that sounds good. Yeah, so multi-talented is your Toby.
Yeah, he can play instruments and tap his foot. So
great. So how did the three of you meet in the first instance before you joined this band?
So Tom and I met through the local music scene at open mic nights and things like that, and we instantly started singing together and writing songs and playing together really. And then we met Toby a few years after that and started jamming with him, and then we were all in a band before In Earnest, a different genre, different name, with other members, and then we kind of streamlined that band down into what In Earnest is today.
That's great. So are you all local, or have some of you moved to Southend, or have you all grown up in Southend?
Well, you and Toby are kind of Southend babies, but yeah, I moved to Southend about 7 years ago. From not that far away from Billericay in Essex, which is just up the road, less close to the sea, and yeah, not as much going on in Billericay actually. So yeah, it's a good move
from Essex. Yeah.
So you mentioned you'd been in bands previous to In Earnest. What are the kind of main differences between the bands you have been in previously and where you are now with In Earnest?
Well, the band previously had more members. It was more of a like full band with drums kind of sound, and it was more along the lines of kind of Americana, we used to call it, but with kind of touches of folk and maybe even like some country as well, influence in there. And just eventually the songwriting just started to take a certain direction. I think after having been in that band for 4 years, we really learned what we enjoyed writing and playing live. And there were hints of what In Earnest is in that previous band, and I think we just decided to grasp onto those things that we really loved, which were the sort of honest parts of the songwriting, the songs that meant a lot to us personally. And the things we picked up along the way became the kind of basis for what In Earnest was. So that is kind of around really raw and bare emotional songwriting, and trying to kind of create an emotional connection with each other, and hopefully that relays then on to people who listen to us or will eventually come and see us play live as well.
That's great. So you touched upon your more honest songwriting within In Earnest. You do sort of talk about issues relating to mental health and how you've got across your own experiences. Why do you feel it's so important to get these issues across and tell your story?
Mainly because mental health is a topic that's really close to all of us, and it affects me personally with anxiety and depression, and I started writing a blog about it, and then that kind of weaned into my songwriting eventually, and then so for me it's a personal thing. For Tom it is personal because we're a couple and he has to deal with me when I'm in that state, I suppose, and it also affects Toby. So it's an all-encompassing thing that we really feel strongly that we need to raise the awareness about. And just because I think it's a topic that, you know, is stigmatized quite a lot and is a taboo subject, and by singing about it, hopefully we can open up those conversations around it, and you know, it affects a lot of people, so hopefully our audience can relate to our topics, I suppose.
Yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be talked about, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to your music and sort of see themselves in your lyrics, and be able to sort of think about their own experiences while listening to your music. So it's I think it's an excellent choice that you've decided to pour out your emotion into these songs and create something really, really genuine. So yeah, I really love your music, and the musical backdrop to your lyrics really suit it as well. They're lovely arrangements. So you talked about how you've kind of taken elements of your previous band and then sort of molded it into In Earnest. Notably, you don't have a drummer in Earnest. What was the decision-making process with your kind of setup with the band?
So again, kind of leading on from the previous musical project, it was something that we sometimes had and sometimes didn't have, depending on the type of show that it was, and just different, sort of making it work for ourselves, no matter what the situation was musically. And then I guess when we thought about what we wanted this new band to be, it felt like, you know, having drums, having something super rhythmic, we didn't want it to take away from what we wanted to do with the lyrics and having the vocals be kind of the main focus of the whole In Earnest thing. And every song that we create is kind of a challenge in a way as well, because we don't have drums to kind of just play a different beat and change this section up from the last one. From your verse to your chorus, for example, it means that we really have to work hard to do something musically to keep the flow of the song and to keep the interest up as well. And that's something we really enjoy. And I think it's very easy to kind of get stuck in a rut. Like, I don't know, saying, well, I play guitar, so I will play chords all the time. And we try not to do that. So how it usually works is that I will play a song and lead it, and it will be on guitar, and then that means that Sarah doesn't play like a rhythmic part, whereas then you'll write a song and then your part will be the rhythmic part, so then that opens me up in another song to play lead guitar or whatever. And we kind of have this like just revolving kind of, it shifts and changes, so changing lead singer, changing the instrumentation from song to song, and kind of I think it just makes us different as well, because we end up falling somewhere in between being an acoustic act and a full band, and I think that's nice. I think that a lot of the time you're either one or the other, and we kind of float around in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, because we kind of have the bass. I play the bass on one of my keyboards, and so there's a bass element there, and there's a foot stomp as a kick, but there's not quite like a
full drum kit.
Yeah, so it's kind of somewhere in between.
So for a few reasons, and it also means that we can all fit in one car very nicely, and that's a bit of a game changer.
It's a lot cheaper to tour.
Yeah, definitely. With the different set of rules, you've got kind of different opportunities within that. Your arrangements, certainly it seems like there's a lot of thought and time and effort went into how you arrange the songs. There's some lovely builds at the ends of the songs on the EP. So you've Fables particularly, I noticed there's a big kind of crescendo in that one. So yeah, I think it really works with this setup, even can be really rhythmic, pardon me, without the traditional drummer or percussionist. So it's working really well for you guys, I think. So let's talk a bit more about the EP and the songs on the EP. So prior to releasing your self-titled In Earnest EP, you released 3 singles. So the first of which was Put Me Under, and then you got in touch with me on your second single, Come Upstairs, which I reviewed, and then subsequently you brought out 29, which also has a really interesting video, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later. Why did you choose these particular 3 songs as singles? What was your thinking there?
We actually sat down for quite a long time and thought about it all, like probably a bit too much, before we even decided to release anything. And so we kind of realised that we wanted to tell our story, as these are our first singles. We wanted to try and get across the story through it, and so we decided on Put Me Under first, because it tells my story about mental illness and the struggles that I face, and so that was a bit of an introduction of me. And then the second single was Tom's side of the same story, and then 29 is, you know, a song about childhood memories essentially, and the video ties in all of us as a trio, and Toby has quite a lot more parts in that song.
Yeah, so it was kind of like telling a story, but also introducing ourselves in a way that we thought made sense. Say if we, for instance, if we'd picked a different song to kind of lead with as a first single, maybe we just thought it wouldn't represent us as well as this kind of little plan that we formulated. And also what we tried to do was we actually really went against our gut instinct regarding which songs to put out first, because usually a band will put out a song or songs based on their kind of commercial value or their kind of likability on a first listen kind of basis. And what we decided to do was completely go against everything we've ever been taught about releasing music, and in order to tell the story rather than just put out songs that weren't maybe connected as well, and didn't represent us as well. So it was a challenge, but we're really happy that we did it that way. I think it was a very good choice.
It makes sense to me, certainly with the type of music you have and the stories that you're telling. If you introduce yourselves and introduce the kind of narrative themes of the EP, for the style of music you are and the kind of band you are, it certainly works for me. I mean, Put Me Under's some beautiful parts on there by Sarah, and you've got some really kind of tender moments, and then Come Upstairs is kind of the reaction to that from Tom. 29, maybe you might have said 29's the possible first single that you might put out. It's a bit kind of brighter, a bit more about childhood memories. But yeah, I think each single shows a different side of the band, and I really like that. You have obviously 6 tracks on the EP. You've also got Fables, In Between and The House. Could you tell us a bit more about the second half of the EP, because the singles come first, don't they?
Yeah, sure. So track 4 is Fables, and it's very much a song of many questions. It's kind of displaying my self-doubt and my questioning myself about everything that I'm doing and everything that I'm thinking, and I suppose feeling a little bit worthless after you kind of take your mind through that journey every day.
Yeah, it deals a bit with like expectation as well, doesn't it? Like why because of the way I am, why can't I do these things? And like a
bit of frustration, not being able to do the things that other people can do. Then track 5 is In Between. Yeah,
so In Between is kind of like a love letter to music and just loving the process of writing and creating something to put out into the world, and not really being able to imagine doing something else. And also not being told that you're too old or you should get a proper job.
Yeah.
And we have proper jobs anyway, so we're covered in that respect. But yeah, it's just about doing something you want to do because you love it and it makes you happy. So it's definitely a more hopeful kind of track out of the 6. And The House was a very unusual co-write, because we don't normally write with even each other. We actually write separately most of the time and edit together. But this The House is the oldest song out of the 6, and I wrote it with my friend Chris Asher, who's a really great singer and songwriter and a really good painter. He's a really talented guy that we love very much, and we kind of just sat down when I was struggling to write songs at some point and wrote The House with no sort of, we didn't pick what it was going to be about, but it came out as like a a song about gratitude, about having someone or something that will always be there to help you, pull you out of you know, situations that you're struggling with. And it's set to kind of like a post-apocalyptic vision of like wandering around this like dilapidated house, looking for this thing, like, but it always comes back in the end. So again, that's kind of a hopeful one as well. Yeah,
it's nice that you kind of end on two of the more positive songs as a kind of resolution to the EP. You mentioned working with your friend there on the last track as a collaboration. Have you thought about doing any more collaborations, or is that something you'd want to do in future, or what are your thoughts on collaborations?
I mean, we probably need to learn to collaborate with each other first. No, it's essentially the reason that we don't collaborate too much is because we love the idea of letting the original writer's vision come to life without too much interference from, you know, if Sarah's written a verse and a chorus and she's visioning something and she's got in mind what it's about, and I come in halfway through the process and start putting in suggestions that don't align with, you know, Sarah's original intention, then that can be disruptive. And yeah, I think we trust each other enough as well to let the original songwriter kind of have their time with it, kind of finish it, and then we edit together, which I think works.
Although I think recently I have learned to try and open up and let Tom help me with arrangements as well, because, you know, he has some great ideas, and it's probably I'd be sorry to ignore those skills. I think the transferable skills. But yeah, so that's about working with each other. But I don't know about collaborating with anyone else. I mean, it would be fun, but I think we're all both so stubborn about the vision that we want to take, and that we want it to just be personal and raw and honest, that it would filter out our vision too much, I think.
Yeah, I think it's part of the kind of in earnest ethos is like for it to all be raw and personal. And I think unless you write songs with people you know really intimately, I think it's difficult to really get down to that level of understanding between you in order to kind of see it through and to both be happy and see the intention come to life without it being compromised, which is a difficult thing to find. I think one thing that we've kind of experienced in the past is sometimes when you collaborate with people you don't know that well, sometimes you hold back a lot, and you kind of, some of your really good ideas, you're almost afraid that the other person's not going to get it or understand what it even means or how it's relevant. And sometimes the writing can get very generalized and very dumbed down, and we just find this, how we write at the moment, for the moment, just works for us.
It certainly does seem to be working just now. I think it's sometimes hard to even talking about collaborating within the band for songwriting. It's when something's so personal to you, like your song's so personal to you, it's kind of hard to let go of that, I think. Sometimes you just have to kind of find how you can test out how you can do that and collaborate with each other. And like you're saying, if you don't know, if it's someone out with the band that you don't know as well, it's kind of you maybe can't be quite as genuine in what you're doing. So it's definitely a different prospect, and doesn't seem to be one that's right for you just now, certainly. So talking about moving forward with the band, what kind of plans do you have? I know it's very difficult at the moment to say with the current pandemic, but what kind of things are you hoping to do in the future?
Well, we in September, the sweet time between lockdowns, we actually recorded our second EP. So we've got that in the works for next year. Other than that, I don't really know, because
we've got some live stream. We're actually going to be playing for you on the 14th.
Yeah.
Indeed. Hopefully this goes out before that, or if not, we played for you on the 14th. And we've also got a few other. We've been asked to do a few other bits like that. which will be good, because like Sarah said, we've just gone back into another 4-week lockdown, so we need stuff to do to keep ourselves active and busy. It's weird because we feel like there's only so much you can keep kind of mentioning the EP that's out. We did so much in the lead up that it feels like nice to have a little bit of a kind of rest from kind of intense promoting of stuff, but also it gives us a bit of time to think about what we're going to do. We just love to play at a gig, but we realised that probably won't happen until sometime next year. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to be really going to have so much pent up energy for doing a gig, and the first set of gigs are going to be, I don't know, pretty energetic and pretty intense affairs, I think. I'm certainly looking forward to both playing and going to gigs again. And of course, we've got these live streams in the meantime. So, yeah, we've got, if anyone doesn't know, we've got a Pictish Prism live stream on the 14th of November, which is next Saturday. And Ernest will be playing for us there, alongside Lorrays and Lisa Kowalski and Rab. So that should be interesting. Very looking forward to seeing your set. I'm assuming it's just going to be the two of you due to the lockdown restrictions. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
No violin for you, unfortunately.
You have to imagine it. Everyone will imagine the violin in the background.
We'll get people to do some TikTok videos with you in the background pretending to play a video or violin. Sorry, not a video. So yeah. So I think what we should really be talking about is where we can find this EP and where we can find you online, and the best places to see your videos and all the different links that people will be able to experience your wonderful music. So where can we find your videos and your music and stuff like that?
So we have our website, which is earnest.co.uk. That has all our videos on there, and also links to everywhere else. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you want to go straight to those places, you can find us at In Earnest Band on all of those platforms. And on YouTube, we haven't got enough subscribers to get a URL yet, so I'm not going to reel out the whole 5 million digit code. But if you just
you type in Earnest,
if you just go to YouTube and put In Earnest Band, I'm sure we're there at the top somewhere, I hope.
Yeah, it all seems pretty straightforward. No fancy handles there in Earnest Band, and it's inearnest.co.uk. Did you say?
Yes.
Excellent. Very easy to digest those ones. Yeah, so I think that's us for today. Thanks very much for joining me.
No worries,
really
pleasure.
Looking forward to your live stream and of course that second EP when it comes out. If anyone hasn't already, please do go and check out In Earnest. They've got their EP on Bandcamp as well, I think, which you'll be able to download, and of course all the other streaming sites as well. So thanks very much for joining me, guys, and I hope to speak to you again soon. And of course we'll be enjoying you play very soon as well. So thanks very much.
All right,
Sure,
thank you.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.
Ace.
See you coming.